This week, ICONIQ Capital published their State of AI report for 2025. There's around 50 slides in this deck, but I'm just going to take 7 minutes and give you seven that really jumped out to me. Now, before we get into the 7 slides proper, I want to just set the ground here that this study was done into 300 executives at software companies that are building AI products. And 88% of those that responded have got a US headquarters. So let's just remember that we're dealing with a microcosm here of companies that are already all in on AI because they are building. So first off, OpenAI, as we'd expect, is leading in the model race. In chart after chart, we see that ChatGPT is the leading model. What's interesting in this subset of companies that are building AI products is that it is not as stark a difference as we have seen in other charts. Anthropic, Claude, is being used by so many developers in creating products that is really ramping up in its usage. Gemini, at the current time, Gemini 2.5 is also very well respected by developers and being used a lot. Now, even in these very high-tech and very AI-positive companies, it's amazing to see that we still don't have huge amounts of AI leadership. So what you can see on this chart is the dark green down at the bottom is showing companies that answer yes, they have got dedicated AI leadership. So this could be a chief AI officer, maybe a head of research. But for the large majority of companies, certainly in the smaller amount, they've not got a dedicated leader. This is likely to be maybe a chief information officer or a CTO, a chief technology officer, that is taking on that role. When we think about the internal productivity of these companies, and this is where we're rolling out AI tools, just like a ChatGPT or a Claude or a Gemini, or we might be investing in AI products that are bolted onto Salesforce or HubSpot or Gong. We can see that the investment that is going into that is nearly doubling from 2024 through to 2025. Now, what's interesting is if you look across the very bottom of this chart, you can see the approximate percentage of the revenue that companies are spending on these internal productivity tools. Across the core, it's 1 or 2%, but in some of these smaller companies, again, these are software companies that are getting started, up to 8% of their revenue is going into giving people the tools and capability to be able to use these tools. So roughly, if you're a $100 million revenue company, are we spending $1 million or $2 million on getting people to use these tools? Now, having given people the tools, one of the top challenges that companies are facing in actually driving adoption is just finding the right use cases. And we see this in our consulting and advisory work. If you just give people ChatGPT, just give them Gemini, they don't really know what to type into that input box. So helping people to find the right use cases is the biggest challenge to driving your adoption. But having done that, you get the benefits. What we see on this chart is the 3 bars show whether a company has got low internal adoption, medium internal adoption, or high internal adoption of generative AI. And what we can see is that those with high adoption are the ones that have got more use cases that are out in the wild and being used by their teams. So averaging around 7 compared to less than 5 for those that have got less than 20% of their employees using AI. And so what are these use cases? What is it that is driving this adoption? Well, again, we've got to remind ourselves that we're dealing with these 300 software companies that are launching AI products. And so it's not unexpected to see that coding assistance is the leading use case there, driving the way that people are preparing for building products, writing code, testing and reviewing that code and pushing things to production. What I would call out, if you are not in a technical software business, if you've got developers in your organization or in the system integrator partners that you're using that's saying, we don't use AI to write code because we believe in, the human art of writing code. Well, the companies that are growing fastest are the ones that are using this, and it's the number one use case. But having come back from that, you get down to some of the obvious ones: content generation, documentation, maybe some data analysis. These are quite sort of standard use cases. And this gives me confidence, and I say to you, that there are much better use cases that you can start to uncover in your organization. I don't really see leadership or management or coaching within these use cases. And so these are ways that you can really help every single one of your people to be more effective in their roles. And so finally, the seventh slide is that high growth companies experiment. Within the 300 that were surveyed, they looked at a subset, which was about 15% of them, that were growing at more than 100% year-on-year growth. And within those companies, you can see that 92% of them are actively experimenting on new AI tools, much higher than the 80% in all the other companies. There is a lot going on at the moment: new models, new products, new tools, new techniques, and just encourage you just to lean in. No one has all the answers. There is no right time to wait for to suddenly figure that out. Lean in, experiment, encourage your teams to try things out, and that is where you will find huge benefits and payback. So there we go, the ICONIQ State of AI Report 2025, 7 slides and hopefully about 7 minutes. I encourage you to download the full report. Just go to iconiqcapital.com and then there is the link and you can download the full PDF.